right, hello, algebra class. It's Miss Odell, and I'm here on Wednesday, February 3rd, 2021. Today we're going to continue on with the point slope form. I know there's a lot of confusion. I want to try to clear that up, as well as I would like to organize a Zoom meeting later this evening or afternoon, whenever that can be worked out, to help answer any further questions that you may have after you watch this video. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to be working from page 113, which is where you had your assignment from yesterday. And I'm going to go over the steps, and you can look and see how well you did if you got them completed. If not, then I'm going to work through them with you. All right, so I'm going to look at number 2. All right, so number 2, there was a slope of a -1. And your points, I'm just going to say P, equals 3, -5. Now, remember that you're starting with your point slope form, which is y minus y1 equals slope times x minus x1. Now, if I can make an impression here, make sure that you always know that this is your x and this is your y. And since we only have one set of points, of course this is the first one, but if you had the second one, they would be x2, y2, but this is x1, y1. So now you're going to take what you have here and plug it into your equation, okay? So y stays the same, minus y1, which is right here, which is a -5, I'm going to put it in parentheses, equals, my slope is right here, -1 times x minus, and then your x1 would be 3. Now I'm going to do my distributive property, but before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and add a line and change the sign. I'll have y plus 5 equals -1x times x is a -1x, -1 times a -3. Your two negatives cancel when you're multiplying, and so I would have plus 3. Okay? Now, I'm going to bring down my y, and I'm going to take this positive 5 over through its inverse operation, which would be -5 equals -1x plus 3, and then bring down my -5. Okay? Now, y equals -1x, and then I'm going to combine these. So 3 minus a -5, when you're subtracting, you're actually adding and taking the sign of the larger number, which would be 5, and that would be negative. So it would be plus a -2. Now, if you wrote this as y equals a -x minus 2, then that is also correct. Okay, so that is number 2. Let's move on. Number 4. Okay, so your slope equals 1/2. Your points are -5 and 2. Again, I always just go x, y, and remember that's 1 and 1. It just helps when you're substituting into your equation, okay? Now, y minus y1 is 2 equals, our slope is 1/2 times x minus -5. All right, so here we go. I'm going to use my distributive property, but before that, I'm going to go ahead and add this. I'm going to change this to add a line, change the sign. Okay? So y minus 2 equals 1/2 times x is 1/2 x plus 1/2 times 5 is, and let me just show you, 1/2 times 5 would be 5 over 1, which is 5 over 2. Okay, now I'm going to add 2. So, because I took this over through its inverse operation, so y equals 1/2 x, and then I'm going to combine these, and when you do that, if you have 5 over 2 plus 2 over 1, you got to have your common denominator, which is 5 over 2 plus 4 over 2 which makes it 9 over 2, okay? So then you're going to put your 9 over 2, and that's your answer, okay? Moving on to number 6. We may not go through all these, but I want to go through the majority of these anyway with you. Y equals a -3. Your points are 2 and 0. Remember your equation. Y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. And it's always good when you're writing that equation, just sort of say it to yourself, and that helps you to remember it, okay? So y minus y1, remember x and y, 0. Your slope is a -3, x minus x1, which is 2. Okay? I don't have any add a line, change of sign, so I'm going to go ahead and use my distributive property. Y minus 0 equals a -3 times x is a -3x. A -3 times a -2 is 6, and it becomes a positive because 2 negatives cancel out to a positive. So I'm going to add 0, and we know what what happens when you're adding 0. -3x plus 6. And that's your answer. I really hope this is helping, okay? But if it's not, we're going to do it and do more on this, okay? Now, let's look at let's look at 8, number 8. Your point equals 5 and 2. Your second point equals -3 and 8. Now, in this case, you have not been given the slope. So, but you've been given the points to find the slope. So you got to remember your slope formula because you got to find that first. Now remember, this is still your x1, y1, x2, y2. Okay, so remember slope is m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Okay, remember that formula. All right, so now I'm going to plug in my numbers, and y2 is 8 minus y1 is 2. x2 is -3 minus 5. And then I'm going to simplify. 8 minus 2 is 6. Add a line, change the sign, and I have a -8. Okay? Now, so that is my slope. So slope equals a -6 over 8. Now, the next thing you need to do is you are going to simplify 6 over 8 and bring it down into its lower terms, which would be 3/4, -3/4. So now your slope is that. Now, your first set of points, and I'm just going to go ahead and write these down. You could use either, but we're going to only use the top, which is 5 and 2. So that is x1, y1. So now, let's focus on this right here. So now I have my slope and I have my equation. Y minus y1 equals slope times x minus x1. So y minus 2 equals -3/4 times x minus 5. All right? So now I'm going to use my distributive property. I don't have anything there that I need to simplify as far as add a line, change a sign. So I'm just going to go ahead and bring this down here. So -3/4 is x is a -3/4 x. Now, I'm going to come over here and I'm going to multiply 3/4 times -5, and I'm going to put it over 1, okay? Which makes it, when you're multiplying two negatives, you get a positive, which makes it 15 over 4. Now, 15 over 4 will reduce to, make sure I'm right here. All right, so I think there's an error there in the textbook, but okay, I just want to make sure. So then we're going to have plus 15 over 4. All right, now, then I'm going to add 2 to both sides. Okay, so y equals a -3/4 x plus, when you have 15 over 4 plus 2. You got to put that over 1. You got to have your common denominator, correct? Okay, so actually, that is not correct. My common denominator is going to be 4. All right, so then I'm going to have 15 over 4 plus 8 over 4, which is 23 over 4. And that is your answer. Okay, that's a little more complicated, but that's good. It gives you an opportunity to see. Let's move down and do number 12. Okay, and then that will finish us up for now, and then we will give you some more practice and see how we do. So your first one is 1 and 6. Your second set of points are 2 and 3. Now, here you have to find your slope. So 3 minus 6 over 2 minus 1. Okay, so 3 minus 6 would be a negative 3 over 2 minus 1 would be a positive 1, which equals negative 3. So your slope here now is negative 3. Okay, we're going to be using the top x1, y1. So y minus 6 equals your slope, 3 times x minus x2. Okay, now, oops, let me back up here. Okay, so it'd be x minus 1, because this is your x1 and your y1. Now, let's use our distributive property. Y minus 6 equals a negative 3x, because your slope is a negative 3, minus a negative 3 times a negative 3 makes it a positive 3, because they cancel out. Okay, so now let's add 6 to both sides. That cancels. Y equals a negative 3x plus 9, and that is your answer. Okay, please let me know if you have any questions, and I will be happy to help you with that, and let me know about the Zoom meeting. You guys have a great day.